Right, it's been 2 weeks of taking Wellbutrin, and it's been an adventure. Right, Willow? Yes, you agree. It has been truly a wild ride and not what I expected. The first day was kind of intense. Honestly, the first few days were a little intense. The second day, I had a terrible, terrible headache. I felt incredibly nauseous and like really drunk for a little bit of the day. And then later in the day, I had like so much uncomfortable, agitated energy that I wanted to just like crawl out of my skin, and was really not feeling stoked about taking the medication the next day. But I took it, and the third day was better. I just really had a headache and I felt a little bit of that irritability. And then the rest of that first week, I just really had a headache. And then this like sore throat started because they can cause dry mouth. And I've been drinking a lot of water, but that sore throat has really been there. I don't feel like I've really noticed any positive effects. I've noticed that there are moments where I can stay focused and do things that I need to, but it's not necessarily giving me the ability to have my executive functions actually functioning, if that makes sense, from an ADHD standpoint. I do feel a slight bit of I'm not in this deep depth of feeling sad all the time, which is great. That base level is definitely higher, but I feel uncomfortable. So that's been an adjustment. And then one of the surprise things that I wasn't sure if was a side effect from this, but after doing some research, it seems like it can be. I started my period at the end of the first week of taking it, and usually it lasts for 4 days, maybe 5 days, and I'm going on day 7, and that is not normal. Bleeding a lot more than normal, and usually I only have cramps when I'm bleeding. And so with someone who has endometriosis and there's a lot of pain, that has been prolonged, and that is not something that feels sustainable for me. So I don't know if that will improve, but I'm not feeling really great about taking the medication, if I'm being honest, because this just doesn't feel good in my body. And this experience of prolonged menstruation and just not feeling comfortable in my body, that was a very unexpected side effect, but very much one that I'm experiencing. And that and the sore throat have been the main thing in the second week of taking Wellbutrin. I'm going to see my psychiatrist today to go over how I'm feeling and kind of reevaluate how we want to move forward, if we want to increase the dose or what the next steps are going to be. And quite honestly, I'm feeling really hesitant to stay on the medication for many reasons. One, how I'm feeling, but also one thing I didn't really realize is a lot of the way that I move through the world is trying the more holistic, natural approach first, and that is something that I very much did before taking Wellbutrin, and just really couldn't get myself out of the slump. And so I believe that Eastern and Western medicine both play a very important role if they're used together. And so choosing to go this route was the best next decision for me to explore that. But at this point in time, I'm really realizing how much I just like to be oh, I'm gonna try this and see if it'll help me, a specific herb or something like that. And I've never had to think, oh, is there a contraindication with the medication that I'm taking? And I have to think about that, and that just feels like something that I don't know if that's a burden that I really want to hold. I very much hold that burden for Kyle and his medication, but do I want to do that for me? I don't know if I enjoy that and that shift in the way that I just move through the world. I'm someone that likes to experiment and try things, and so that feels like it's limited me. I also really love drinking matcha. It's so good for the body. All the antioxidants and the EGCG that's in matcha, and that has been hard to not consume because it's either that or my morning tea ceremony, and I'm not foregoing that. And so that's been like something that I'm struggling with. Like, I don't want this ritual that nourishes me to be taken away. So I don't know what that looks like, but I'm feeling honestly not great about taking this medication. And maybe it's just that this medication isn't the one for me, but I'm feeling resistance to continue. I feel like at this point in time, I'll probably stay on it for a month and see if things change. But also I'm going to talk with my psychiatrist today and see what her recommendations are. But where I'm at right now is just feeling like one thing she does is really help create like protocols using supplementation. And I've never had a provider like that. So my thought is maybe working on adding those supplements in now and getting my body used to them and making that adjustment, because supplements are going to take a lot longer than a pharmaceutical to make those shifts, and start using them now so that in the next month I could taper off of Wellbutrin. That's how I'm feeling in this moment, and maybe she's going to totally disagree with me, but we will see what she says, because she knows better in the sense of how to use those medications, but I know my body best, and I'm not necessarily enjoying the experience that I'm having. So today's going to be a really full day. I got to get moving, and then we're going to go see her, and I'm going to take you along because I want you to be up to date with me of like what's going on. Wellbutrin has been a journey. One other thing that I forgot is I have noticed that I just feel more reactive, and I thought maybe it's because I'm on my period and I tend to be more sensitive around that time and just feel like I easily get irritated. So I don't know if that is the medication or just where I am in my cycle, but I've noticed that I just feel more irritated with things like sounds, smells, like everything just seems to be irritating. If Kyle says the wrong thing, it's irritating. Like that has been hard to navigate. And I know that it can make people feel more agitated, and I definitely experienced that the first week I was taking it and those side effects, but now it feels like this more like base level agitation and not like this overwhelming agitation. So I don't know, this is just a journey of experimentation and just trying to like get to a better place. And I think that part of it is also like really leaning into therapy and finding healing. I listened to this truly phenomenal podcast on Mel Robbins' podcast. She was interviewing Gabor Mate. He has a very interesting take on ADHD being caused from not having your needs met as a child. And it doesn't have to be like you weren't fed or things like that, but just like not having your emotional needs met. And as someone that's a very sensitive soul, I don't feel like my needs were met as a child. And I know that because I experienced some hard things. I was diagnosed at a really young age with dyslexia. And so from a very young age, I experienced being in a resource room for most of the day in school. So I spent every class besides history and science in a resource room with other kids with disabilities and kids with severe physical and mental disabilities. And so I didn't feel like I fit in there. Like I felt so different in that space. But then when I would go to the other regular classroom, I didn't feel like I fit in there because I spent the rest of the day in a resource room, and like I knew that I was different because of that. So I think that that also has played a role in me just feeling like I don't really fit in. There's a lot more things that I've experienced in this life, and his approach, Gabor Mate's, is really that creates this need of avoidance and like just going internally, and then your brain doesn't wire the way that it's supposed to in that very early developmental stages, and that can create ADHD, which for me makes a lot of sense. And I'll link the podcast below because it truly blew my mind. And the thing that really blew my mind was this concept of like, they were talking about like addiction, and it not just being addiction to substances, but it being addiction to behaviors. And she was saying, you know, I can find myself being addicted to scrolling on my phone. Like, I can relate. Girl, can I relate? And he was like, okay, let's look at that. Like, what are you seeking? And she was like, you know, like to escape. And he's like, okay, but what are you escaping from? And she was like, you know, it's like this not feeling safe in my body. Maybe she said it differently, but that is how I interpret it. And that really clicked for me of like, how often am I choosing things and avoiding things because I just simply don't feel safe in my body? And that's been a big revelation for me, is like, I don't feel comfortable in me. And that is something that I have to work through. And I think going to therapy and exploring different healing modalities and finding that connection to like the deepest part of myself and that like little Rachel inside of me will help all of these other things improve. That is my thinking. Like, that is the foundation that has to be laid, and that foundation is not strong. So I think that is the big piece. So I'm also seeing my therapist today. Big day. And lots of things, lots of thoughts, so much exploration. And it really feels like a year of discovery and coming back to like the softness, the like joy, the ease. Like, that's how I want to feel every single day. And just like juicy. Like, I love that word. I just want to feel like juicy and supple, and that's how I want my life to feel. Okay, let's get moving.
What's the angle? I'm not playing that game. It's the same business with a different name.
I've been making a rice water toner. It feels so nice. I keep it in the fridge. You have to, because otherwise it goes rancid, but it's like so nice to have like cold on the face in the morning. Just kind of wakes you up. What's up?
Not much.
Alright, want to set up the Qigong because I'm gotta get going.
It's about time for another lecture. You do it too. If you knew what's good for you. Future minded. It's not much for peace of mind, my friend. If I quit fighting, tell me what would happen then. No thanks, I'll pass. I don't want any of that. I'll just take my chances. No thanks, not now. I made it this far. I'll just take my
You attack of me!
chances.
You attack of me! Oh my god! I love you. Oh. No thanks, I'll pass. I don't want any of that. I'll just take my chance. The other side effect that people often experience is hair loss. So I don't want that. I made this big batch of hair growth tea. It's got oat straw, nettle, horsetail, and marshmallow root. And then I'm gonna put amla powder as well. I would usually steep it overnight, but I forgot. So I steep it while I'm gone. I do an overnight infusion, but I'll just steep it for a couple hours while I'm gone. And then I do 2 tablespoons of the tea per 32 ounces of water. Then you let it marinate. Getting out of the house was pure chaos, but I am down in the big city. I'm about to head in. We'll see what my psychiatrist says. If I'm going to keep using this medication, I don't know what lies ahead, so let's go do it. Okay. Well, that was interesting. The plan is I'm going to stay on this for another month, see how I feel. I'm also taking saffron with it, and that's an herb that she definitely recommends for like mood. But sticking on this, seeing what happens, because the side effects are manageable, and just seeing if it helps kind of stabilize and not adding anything else, so we can really see like how does this work. And she was very clear that like if this doesn't feel like the right fit, there might not be any other like medication that will help what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. Like this is really the one. So if it doesn't continue to seem like the right fit, then really moving towards using supplements and things like that to help regulate the nervous system and improve mood, to help, you know, stabilize the dopamine in my brain and all those things that help with ADHD and depression. But it was very insightful because we also talked about this idea of like at the root of everything, it's about my needs not being met as a child, and all of our experiences come from what we experienced in childhood. Like that creates our reality in our present day life as adults, and having to address that of like, how are my needs not met and how do I still not feel safe in my body and my experience, and really doing the somatic work to address that and like create a really strong foundation. And she gave a really helpful tool called somatic, what is it called? Somatic, oh shoot, I can't remember what she called it. I don't know. But it's basically a practice where like when you're in this really positive place, when you're like, I feel really good and I want to reinforce this. Maybe you're in nature doing something that you love. You use your hand in some sort of motion. It could be like doing this. It could be putting on your heart, putting it on your head, but like doing some sort of motion. What is it called? Somatic. Anyways, putting it on your head or like whatever you want to do, and then visualize some sort of word that you want to reinforce, and really creatively envision it in your head and like spell it out in your mind's eye. And a somatic anchor. And so just like really feel that, experience it. And so when you are in a stressful or triggering situation, you can, if yours is like putting your hand on your heart, it can activate that feeling that you felt when you anchored that, and it can calm the nervous system. And I just think that is such a easy, free, and accessible way to like help ground. And so I definitely like want to do that next time I feel that really calm, positive headspace that I want to be in, and cultivate that. I feel like that'd be such a good tool to have, especially if you have like panic attacks. I haven't had one in a long time, but I feel like that would be such a helpful tool to have. And yeah, just like really addressing those things. So It was a very insightful appointment. I feel like motivated and I feel like things are moving. And a lot of it is because I feel like just making the decision to take medication and go on this journey has put me in a place of being so receptive and so open to seeing all the possibilities and really just committing to like taking care of me. And I feel like I'm doing that. So I'm gonna go see my therapist and, you know, address some of these things, look at them, move through things, improve the foundation. But week 2 of taking Wellbutrin has been a journey. Things are moving, things are grooving. I hope that you're having a beautiful day, and I will see you in the next one. I love you so much. Bye.